How does art control our lives? Traditionally, art has been used to depict society and depict the nuances of different cultures. What I propose is that art doesn't just depict our culture, but it predicts our culture. It looks art, the information art presents to us happens before the actual events of history. Now, the way I'm going to demonstrate this is using 3 different eras personified by 3 different artists. The first era is Cubism, which you know by Pablo Picasso. The second era is Impressionism, you know Monet, Manet, and I'm going to use Manet. And the last one is the greatest artist of all time, Leonardo da Vinci. The first era is Cubism. Cubism represents the First World War. It looks at, it has sharp visual planes that are juxtaposed next to one another and symbolizes the feeling of the war, what actually went on during the war. The United Kingdom used this art to encourage the US to join the war. They wanted the US to come to their assistance, and they commissioned artists to do this. As we all know, the US produced the most wartime posters in World War I. What those posters were done is to have the people involved in the war and to get the people to be part of the war. What I noticed though, however, is that the Cubist movement and the style of Cubism began before the war. I think it actually predated the war. And the industrial approach and the industrial style of painting, the sharp edges juxtaposed next to one another, that style of painting actually, I believe, spoke about the feeling of the people that led to the war. The next movement I'd like to talk about is Impressionism. Manet. When I read the history books telling that Manet was one of the founders of the Impressionist movement, Impressionist movement was a rebellion against the status quo, and it was a new style of painting that uses light and color in its truest form. Impressionism, however, when it began, the French hated it. What was popular? That's right. What was popular was the École des Beaux-Arts, and they were in charge of art in France. Art was supposed to depict history, and art was supposed to make the French look prominent. The art of the time was very beautiful, Romanesque, and Rococo, and the art looked similar to Renaissance style painting. The Impressionists who first came off, like Gustave Courbet and Delacroix, they were hated. The French people hated Manet and spit on his paintings. These artists were talking about something that was before his time. These artists were doing things that had not been done. Manet was very popular was very popular socially and did a whole lot of things. But the people of the French did not like his approach. I believe that those Impressionists of the time foretold a change in the harsh, censored society of France at the time. At the time, Napoleon was the emperor, and France, and they were very harsh on editing what was said, and they did not allow spoken word, and they did not allow people to be unique. The French Impressionists did something that changed French society, and it changed the way they looked at the world. They predicted the changes that were going to happen in French society. Now, the last person I'm going to look at is Leonardo da Vinci. As we all know, the French Impressionist movement began with an architect, Brunelleschi. Brunelleschi did three-dimensional designs of perspective. The first one to use perspective in his architecture. He incorporated it into his reliefs. And Brunelleschi started the idea of looking into classical antiquity, and looking into the Greek and the Romans for ideas for the new world. What that did, it began all the things we enjoy today. It began commerce, modern commerce as we know it today. It began a look at government and democracy, and a lot of what we enjoy today as modern civilization actually began in that Renaissance period. Leonardo da Vinci, in the period where he painted and the style where he painted, he spoke about ideas. His Mona Lisa looked at more than just religious depictions. It looked to regular society. He looked at something different than he looked at something that symbolizes the nature of intellect and enlightenment in society. The Mona Lisa, for example, the style he used is very difficult to duplicate. The way in which he layered the paints and he put the different layers of paint onto the canvas was a very unique layer. And I think Da Vinci predicted the style of art and innovation in the way he incorporated art and innovation. Yes, he did. In the way he incorporated art and innovation into his work. In conclusion, art predicted the events of the Renaissance, the Impressionist movement, and the Cubist movement. All three periods, art was not just a vehicle to depict what was going on, but it was a lot more than that. It spoke about people and their actions before it happened. I believe art is vital, not just to the way we live and what we do, but art influences us in a subliminal way that we are part of it in a very mysterious manner. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for some more art conversation.